Hey guys, how are you today? I hope you are feeling well. In this video, I decided to share a little bit of a flow of consciousness, like a real flow of consciousness, and it turned out to be quite long. So I want to share with you the topics that I touch on in this video so you can get a little taste beforehand. Now, I talk about a broad range of topics ranging from breakups and identity crisis, therapy and bad therapists, feeling disrespected, values, mindfulness, personality tests, cultivating an open mind, window of tolerance, giving and receiving, and a whole bunch more. So I hope you feel as excited as I am, and I hope to see you there. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Flow of Consciousness YouTube channel. This video will be a little bit of a flow of consciousness about my experiences with breakups because I felt like talking about it today, and so that's what I will do. Now, what I've noticed for myself is that each time after a breakup, I go through some kind of identity crisis, right? I'm so used to being with this someone. You text them, you call them, you're constantly in touch with one another, and not necessarily like 24/7 sticking together, but they're just on your mind almost every single day. They are available when you want to strike up a conversation or when you have a question or whatnot. You do things together, you plan things together. So there's a lot of togetherness. There's a lot of mental energy that is attributed to your ex-partner, right? Or to your partner if you're still together. Now, if the relationship ends after the breakup, this no longer is the case. So you can no longer share time together, spend attention together, care for one another, think about what you're going, like you're planning stuff with your relationship partner, and all of a sudden this is no longer the case. And that requires adjustments. That requires you to actually get accustomed again to being on your own, to not really taking someone else into consideration. Even if you take them only a little bit into consideration, you're still taking them into consideration. And that shift when they are no longer there, for me, is really difficult somehow. Like, it requires time for me to actually get used to doing my own stuff again, like reaching out to the people that I care about, planning things with those people. Because personally, when I'm in a relationship, my partner is someone that I love to spend time with. Otherwise, they would not be my partner, right? And it's really important to maintain relationships with other people while you're in a relationship. And this is definitely something that I've learned, right? In the past, I used to maybe not pay as much attention as I should to my friends and loved ones. My most recent relationships, I did that, and I am so grateful that I did that, because when the relationship ends, and I'm not saying that you should start a relationship with the end in mind, thinking that it will definitely end at some point. That's not what I'm saying. However, if it ends, then being able to fall back on friends and family members and loved ones is very, very important. Like, it's really important to be able to spend time with other people so you can actually detach from your ex-partner. You can actually start to make memories with others instead of, making memories with your ex in your mind all the time, because that is going to prolong the healing process. And for me, I am at a point where I am really starting to understand the different phases of a breakup, right? I am paying very close attention to how I experience stuff. I'm taking notes. I am writing about it. I'm talking to people about it. And it's becoming this almost like scripted experience where right after the breakup, you really don't know where your head is. You're just so confused, so stressed out. You're just constantly thinking about them. And it feels like you will never be able to get out there. And then there is a second phase for me where I fall into this kind of like void. And it's not anymore really about my ex-partner, but more about who am I? What do I want? This piece falls away, drops away, and then there is a lot of space and time that gets filled up. And in my case, initially, this is a huge void. It's like I feel, I don't know, like very confused about where I want to go, what I want to do. I feel sad most of the time. I feel very anxious, maybe even confused. And that lasts for a few weeks in my case, usually. And after that, there is this phase where I'm starting to, okay, now I can feel that I am really moving forward again, and I'm really discovering things that I want to do with my life. I am meeting new people, or I'm hanging out with old people, not like old people, but I'm hanging out with older friends, right? Like people that I know for a long time, obviously. And so that is causing me to start to regain my confidence in a way that is allowing me to, I don't know, feel at home within myself again. Because at first, I really don't feel at home within myself. I'm just an empty void that is not really here. I feel like a ghost in my own body. And it just takes a while for me to actually come back home, return to myself, return to my senses. And after that, I can feel that I am moving up again, right? There is this curve, this graph, if you will, where the breakup happens. There is denial. It's overwhelm. It's an explosion of emotions, right? Lots of intensity. After that intense phase, boom, you drop into this pit. I mean, at least I do. And it's this dark phase where I'm so distracted, so not present, so confused, and it lasts for a few weeks, sometimes maybe even a few months. And after that, I regain myself. I find myself again. And it sounds so cliche, but it's the best way to put it, right? To find yourself again, to actually have had enough time to detach, to explore your own world again. And saying goodbye is difficult, right? Letting go, it's a big topic in my life. It's not easy. At least for me, it is not. And I am sure that in certain cases for you, it's also not easy, because so many people actually struggle with letting go. And it's just a matter of having faith, of knowing that eventually you will be fine. Eventually you will be okay. You absolutely will. And it can be strange to think about that, right? Because you feel as if things will never get better, as if you will forever stay stuck in this limbo, or in this, state of melancholy, or in this state of sorrow, grief. That's not what it's going to be like. You will move on. You have no other choice too, right? Like, do you really want to spend your life in sorrow, in grief, and not be able to experience the fullness, the joy, the excitement of life that it actually can offer to you, right? Life is an offering, life is a blessing. And this morning I was writing in my journal, and I wrote down, I am so grateful to be part of nature and to be alive. It's a wonderful feeling to be grateful, to feel grateful for being alive, because I've been in other times in my life not at all grateful for that. I actually wanted it to end even, right? I've been suicidal when I was younger many times, and it's not something that I'm proud of, definitely not. And looking back now, I feel sorry for myself in the sense that I wasn't able to actually allow myself to open up to what life has to offer. I was so focused on the negative things that the only way out for me was actually to want to end it. I just wanted to end it all. And that is such a sad thing to realize now, because if I could have the perspective that I have today and I could apply it to my younger self, man, I would never have felt suicidal in my, like, ever, right? Because right now I can see so much beauty and so much potential in life. And there is this great book, Reasons to Stay Alive, 100 Reasons to Stay Alive or something. And there's this list of things you can experience and that can allow you to actually, see the joy that life has to offer. And I think it's a great book. And, suicidal thoughts and mental health, they're big topics, and they're also really important to talk about. However, I am, again, not a professional or anything. I am just a person who struggled with a lot of things that you probably also struggle with or struggled with, and I just found ways for myself to overcome this, right? I'm not a professional therapist who can actually treat these symptoms or these issues. I can only share my personal experiences and the things that I've been through in the hopes to inspire you, to help you, to support you, because these topics are very sensitive, right? They have to be treated with care and respect and a lot of careful attention, because you can very quickly cause more damage than actually help people, right? So that's why I want to be very careful with the things that I say, and I want to just share my own perspective, my own experiences. Like I said, I am just a guy on the internet talking about what he's been through. So again, think for yourself, and if you feel like you need professional help or you need someone to really talk to, go do that. There is no shame in that. I've seen many therapists in my life, and I've learned so much from going through therapy. Actually, I honestly think that everyone should at least gain some kind of insight into their psyche, into their behaviors, raise some of their awareness around certain behaviors that they have, certain triggers, because this will cause them to act in a more conscious way, and you can then make more clear decisions. Because if you let your life be run by subconscious impulses, then you will suffer miserably. I believe that. So if you raise your awareness, your consciousness, and you can do this by reading books, listening to people talk on YouTube, or going to see a therapist, you can, learn a lot about yourself. And I am really careful also with recommending therapists, because I believe, and this again, I speak from personal experience, if you have the wrong therapist, they can also cause you more harm than good. So it's really important that you find a good therapist, someone that you resonate with, someone that you feel respects you, someone that you can respect as well. Because if that relationship is not there, if there's no trust, then it's going to cause more harm than good, because you need to feel safe with this person. You need to feel like you can trust them and that they treat you with respect. And there is a lot of bad therapists out there. I'm sorry to say it, but it is true. There's a lot of people who don't know what they're doing, or don't have the best intentions at heart, or they are just acting from an ego place, and they are not actually helping people. And I think it's terrible when that happens, because in this profession it's really important to maintain a humble attitude, to maintain a mindset and an intention to truly help someone. And of course, sometimes the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I know that, right? But I truly believe that if you educate yourself and your intentions are clear, and you respect the persons that you're working with, the people that you're working with, that is the best combination to actually help people heal. But if you're acting from ego, or if you think you're a know-it-all, or I've had therapists like that who were just treating me like a piece of scum, and that is terrible, because you already feel so bad about yourself. And it's really important that as a therapist you don't help your client feel even worse about themselves. You support them to actually, learn and grow. And there is a lot of interesting tools that therapy taught me. For example, assertiveness training. This was an eye-opening experience for me, to be able to assert myself more, because I used to be the biggest people pleaser you can imagine, right? I was so afraid to speak up, so afraid to share my opinion, my thoughts, that I was just abandoning myself all the time. And so assertiveness training actually taught me to assert my thoughts, my feelings, my experiences in a respectful manner. I believe it's really important to state your opinion respectfully, right? You are entitled to any opinion you can think of. You are entitled to your opinion. That is absolutely fine. However, I do believe that it's really important that you state it respectfully. Treat other people with respect, with kindness, with compassion. I am so big on these values because I felt treated with disrespect a lot of times in my life, and it's a very painful experience. It makes me angry. This is something that makes me so angry, when people treat other people with disrespect. I can't stand it. It's absolutely something that I really judge when someone does that. I have very little understanding for that. And maybe that's also because it's partly something that I struggle with myself, but also because I've felt so much pain from people disrespecting me. And that's why I am so big on kindness and compassion and respect, because to feel disrespected by someone, I don't know, like it's almost as if it's a confirmation of your unworthiness. And that's why it hurt me so much, because I felt so unworthy when I was younger. And this disrespect kind of like confirmed it. But deep down, you know that you were actually not unworthy. You were actually a worthy human being who deserves to be happy, who deserves to be surrounded by the people they love, especially if you commit to, to learning from your mistakes, to improving your life, to apologizing, to forgiving. If you really put time and attention into cultivating good intentions and treating people and yourself with respect, then being treated with disrespect is just a violation of those values. And that's why it makes me so angry when I can see that happen. Like, I remember when I was younger in elementary school, and there was a teacher who accused me of, I don't know, like, I don't really remember what he accused me of. I can only remember the emotion that I felt, right? He accused me wrongly. Like, I didn't do what he accused me of. And I told him that I didn't do this. And he told me, "You're lying. You're such a filthy liar." And I felt so disrespected, and I felt so incredibly angry that he accused me of something that I didn't do, and he treated me with disrespect. I can feel the emotion in my body when I talk about it. I felt so angry with him. And this is the seed for me to, to be so careful with accusing people of stuff, of treating people with disrespect, because I felt so not seen in that moment, so misunderstood, so not understood. And I want to be a person that puts in a lot of time and effort to actually understand people, to understand you. I want to understand you. That's why I love to engage in the comments, and I like to, share my perspective and hear from your perspectives, because feeling understood is a big topic in my life. I felt misunderstood a lot of times. And at some point, you have to also understand that people can't understand you fully 100%. It's never going to be possible, because they're not living in your head, right? They're not you. So nobody can actually 100% understand you. But I believe that it's more about the intention behind it. You want to try to understand, you want to listen, you want to ask questions, and you want to relate and empathize. And feeling this intention, feeling this kind of support is what really truly matters for me. That's also why I try to do the same for others. I live, like, the golden rule is a rule that I truly live by. Don't do unto others what you don't want to be done unto you, or something. Like, maybe I'm butchering it, but it comes down to, treat others like you want to be treated. And it's a challenge sometimes, right? Of course, you face difficult situations where your ego is taking over, or where your traumas are triggering you, and you are not really able to make a conscious decision. And that's again why I'm so big on mindfulness and meditation, because it allows you to make a conscious choice. You can become aware of your trigger, you can become aware of your ego speaking up, and then you can make a choice. You can create some kind of space between whatever is happening inside you, the emotions that are being aroused, and your actions, right? You can create space between those, and in that space you can make the conscious decision to act in according to your values, to act in accordance with what you deem truly important. And that's one of the biggest realizations that I had over the course of my life, is that you don't have to identify with your emotions, with your feelings. You can allow them to be there, and it's more important to create the space and to act according to who you want to be, right? I felt so disrespected and so out of control when this teacher accused me of something that I didn't do. But with the knowledge that I have now, I would take a step back and not allow myself to get so angry, so upset. Maybe he had completely the wrong information, and he was truly convinced that I did this thing. I don't even remember what it was. Okay, I can calm myself down. I can see the anger within myself, but I can create some space and then decide to, okay, I feel very disrespected right now, I can let him know in a respectful manner, hey, I feel incredibly disrespected, and I can assure you that I didn't do this. And if you still believe that I did, then that's your problem, and I will not take it personally anymore, right? But I took it very personally back then, and I felt so disrespected. And as I said earlier, it felt as a confirmation of my unworthiness. And now I work so much on my inner confidence by, making commitments and keeping the commitments, learning about myself. I took a lot of personality tests also. I highly recommend you check it out. Like, there's a lot of different tests online. You can take those. I recommend you take a few different ones, because if you take just one, it will maybe skew your results a little bit, right? You don't necessarily want to identify with one type of result of test, because it can put you in a small box and that can cause other problems. But there is an MBTI personality test, there is the Big Five personality test, there is the DISC personality test. There's a lot of different ones. You can check them out on Google. They will definitely pop up. If I will maybe put some stuff in the description if you're interested. You can check it out there, and you can learn a lot from about yourself from taking these tests, and they can give you a lot more self-awareness. They can allow you to know how to navigate different situations in your life, what kind of people you can resonate with better, more easily. And it's also a feeling thing, but knowing stuff can also be really important. Know thyself, right? If you really truly know yourself, you can then figure out a path that works for you, right? Because what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. I am just offering tools, offering experiences, perspectives, and you can take whatever you want from that, right? I did the same thing, exactly the same thing. There is YouTubers that I love to check out if they're talking about certain topics, and then I take everything that applies to my situation, and then I learn from that. And every time somebody shares a resource or shares a perspective or insight that was very, very useful for me, I give thanks. I really think this YouTube has been my biggest teacher, in combination with the therapists that I met in my life. These two resources, they actually like taught me so many things. And I think that it's very, very important to want to keep learning, to humble yourself, and to keep looking for not necessarily like quick fixes or tools, but just to gain more information about yourself, to gain more insight, to have more experiences, to become wiser, more mature. I very much admire maturity in people, emotional maturity. They know themselves so well, and it's something that I aspire to, right? I want to be a very self-aware person who has a lot of wisdom. I want to share wisdom with the world, and I want to gain more wisdom. And I believe that I do that by really introspecting, by keeping an open mind, by continuing to educate myself, learning, talking with people, reading all these information channels, and then filter out the good information, right? Because you need to also have some kind of critical mechanism that actually filters the good from the bad. I watched this video a few days ago where a guy was talking about Leon Hendricks was his name. Absolutely fantastic channel. Go check it out. Leon Hendricks. Wow, his content is so good. So he talks about the advice that people give, the 4-95-1 rule, and it's basically that 4% of advice is really incredibly bad. Like, it can even cause harm to people. Then there is a 95% of okayish advice that is sometimes good, but that can also be a little bit bad sometimes. And there's just like this general people who are sharing stuff and it's just advice, right? And then there is the 1% of really solid brick advice that actually makes a difference in people's lives, that you can apply and that will actually yield results. So there's a lot of bad or mediocre advice out there, and so you need to cultivate a filtering mechanism for yourself to actually distinguish between the advice that is just a waste of your time and then the advice that actually matters, that actually makes a difference in your life. And this is something that I believe my education taught me as an engineer. I'm an engineer by degree. I have a master's degree in electrical engineering. They teach you critical thinking skills. And this is so important, especially in this day and age, to have a set of critical thinking skills, because there's just so much information that is blasted at us at such high rates that in order for us to not be completely confused, you need to be able to really, shift the good information from the bad information. And again, this is also specific to you. You need to know yourself in order to be able to filter the things that apply to your life, right? And you want to keep an open mind, I think, to actually learn things that you didn't know before, to open yourself up to new perspectives. That is something that I have experienced myself, that whenever I close myself off and I think that I know something, it's when the problems start to arise. I want to open myself up and allow, the different perspectives to enter my brain. And then I want to, you know, create something out of that and learn something and move forward and getting different perspectives from people. That's also why I love to travel so much, right? Because the different cultures, they have totally different mindsets and experiences, and that just opens up my mind. It allows me to relate better to people. It allows me to relate better to myself, to the world. And I think it's very important, especially for me personally, to be able to do that. I want to relate to others. I want to feel connected. Connection is very important to me. It's something that I crave and something that I want to have in my life. Connection with myself, with the world, with people. And when I feel disconnected, which sometimes happens when when there's an overload, there is this interesting psychological idea where they talk about the window of tolerance. And it's basically, this window where you can actually maintain your composure, where you're not overloaded with stress. And there's people who go in overdrive when they're starting to get really chaotic and try to control everything, etc., etc. Or if you exceed the boundaries of your stress levels, you can also go into some kind of like hibernation mode, where you just shut yourself down and you're not really able to engage anymore. Like depression is a big example of that, right? You pass the threshold of your stress capacity, the window of tolerance, and then you become depressed, or you become very lethargic and unwilling to engage with life. And this is kind of like a protection mechanism to protect your psyche from being overloaded. And that's something that I definitely experienced in my life, because I am such a sensitive person. I recorded a video about this HSP personality. You can go watch that if you're interested. There's so much stuff coming in that my system gets overloaded sometimes, and then I need time to regain my strengths. And sometimes when I overshoot it, I leave my window of tolerance. I go into this depressed season, this depressed phase, where I disengage with life and I feel disconnected, and it's causing me to suffer, right? It's causing me to suffer because a big need of mine is to feel connected, is to feel engaged with life. And when I don't do that, it's this negative spiral that is dragging me down. And I've been there a few times when I was younger, and now I'm a lot more aware whenever the signs are starting to be there, that I'm exceeding my window of tolerance. And then I can change my behaviors, I can change my environments, I can speak up and make sure that I don't end up in this downward spiral, because it's easier to prevent going there than to actually get out there again. And sometimes, you lose track of things and you actually slip into the spiral. But the more experience you have, the easier I think it is to get out there again. You learn tools, you learn ways for yourself to pick yourself up again. And I think that's very important if you want to prevent yourself from falling into this deep pit of darkness, because it's not good for no one. You in the first place, right? You're suffering the most, and people around you are also suffering because you're not feeling well. And people who love you, they want you to be happy, they want you to be fulfilled, they want you to be feeling like you belong. Because I think that everyone wants to belong, and especially myself, feeling like I don't belong has been a very painful theme in my life when I was younger. And now I feel that I do belong, simply because I'm also able to open myself up more, be more vulnerable, speak up, right? Because if you're constantly shutting yourself off and you're trying to people please everyone, you actually don't really belong, because you have an inconsistent personality that matches no true group of people. You're constantly changing between different social groups, and you actually don't really belong anywhere. So for me personally, once I came to understand this, I decided to commit to who I am. And that's when I found my tribe. That's when I found the people who truly resonate with me. And that's when I started to feel like I belong. And that's a really important feeling to have, and something that I work on daily, right? Knowing that it takes work, it requires work to get to know yourself, to share your thoughts and feelings with other people, to express gratitude and appreciation for others. It's so important to give and to also be able to receive, because I used to be someone who was unable to receive. I couldn't receive because I felt like I was not worthy to receive from others. So I rejected it a lot. And now I am really able to receive. And that is a wonderful thing because it's a gift to the other person as well. If you allow yourself to receive their gift, that is something that you give to them as well. It's a privilege to be able to give something to someone and they receive it in gratitude. That's a wonderful experience. So that is kind of like the flow of consciousness that I wanted to share today. It ended up being a very long one. I really enjoyed it for some reason, so I hope you did too. I hope you learned something today. If there is a few things that you would like me to expand more on in a separate video, please feel free to put it in the comments. I touched on a lot of different things in this video. And I think that there is a lot of potential value in this for you too. And so if you're interested in specific topics, make sure to let me know down below in the comments. I want to thank you for being here with me. I want to really thank you for your attention. It's a long video. I very much enjoyed it and I hope you did too. And as always, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.